Hello 4T students. We're now approaching week 3, so I want to say I enjoyed reading everyone's forum post this past week. So people jumped in there earlier, so that was great, and that allows us to get the forum discussion going through the week and not just be a weekend activity. So continue to do that, and it will help us as a cohort to move forward, and it also will help your timing to get projects done each weekend. This weekend you're going to be submitting the economic analysis, and the next thing you're going to do is a foreign direct investment analysis. You're kind of assessing all the cost and benefits, and then just use the template that I provided out there in week 3. If you need to kind of go back and look at some general definitions of balance of payments and other items, relative to unemployment, look those up or send me an email if you have any questions. It can be very general in nature, but what you're going to do is use that template. Right now you should really be thinking about what product or service that I plan to be doing overseas or marketing overseas, that you're actually physically going over to that host country. And you'll notice in the template I have 2 countries that you could be assessing, because once you get to your final project you're going to pick a country and you're going to stick with that one, whether it's fictitious or whether it's a real product, or it's an adaptation of a company. Say it's Cargill and you're thinking about marketing a new product overseas for Cargill, and you are part of a marketing team that's going to launch this product. So there's a lot of flexibility with that, but you'll go out and you'll complete the template, and then afterwards write a 3 to 4 page paper about a summary of your analysis, and you'll have that due next Sunday. So all right, a little bit about this week. In Week 3, our readings are chapters 8 through 10. I'd say most of the meat and potatoes is in the chapter 8. In the beginning there, they discuss how even the executives have to almost entrench themselves in that local culture to understand, how things process and work there. And that's important. And a lot of this chapter looks at what is the problem, or what is the question we're asking. How are we going to make sure we market this product successfully in this host country? And it's depending on a lot of research. And different countries, developed countries, they may have more data available. When you go out and look at all the websites that have listed in your syllabus, they'll have information about these host countries. But in other regions, there may be less information. So a lot of times we may even have to hire a firm in that host country, because they have maybe a better understanding of the host culture. And we want to make sure that we're giving the right message. If you go back to the textbook again, they tell us this over and over again to avoid that SRC, kind of that idea again, that self-reference criterion. That I know in my head how things are done here in the United States, so this is going to work overseas too. And that's throughout the textbook they say that so many U.S. firms have failed in taking that approach. And there's different ways that we can gather data. The internet is, in those that have developed countries, are becoming a great source. Even over the weekend, I was talking to one of the dads on my kid's soccer team, and he was telling me about in Lee's Summit, where a lot of the data is stored locally here in Lee's Summit. And I asked him, why do you have to keep all this data? He goes, well, it's required by law, by the federal government, when you have a text or a phone call, so they have to keep those records for many years. But they're trying to figure out a way to use all this, what they call big data today, to leverage it. How can I sell it? How can I predict consumer behaviors? So it's a great resource to have. If we have to by law keep all these records, how can we find a benefit from them? So okay, and with this, the other thing I thought was interesting in this chapter too was, when taking your message that you want to give to that host country, whether it's a marketing campaign or what you're trying to sell, we got to be really careful. It makes me think of that movie Lost in Translation. I think Bill Murray goes over to Japan, but it does get confusing sometimes. So that's why we're having a message that we're saying. They mentioned some of these other techniques. They said about the back translation, parallel translation, decentralizing, where maybe I have one person convert it to say Spanish, and then I have a different person take it from Spanish back to English, just to make sure that we're really getting the message that we want. Because if we're not careful, that host culture can get really confused by the message that we're trying to tell us, whether it's in the language or the symbolism or anything. So that's why it's important sometimes that we do hire representatives from that local host country that we feel comfortable, that have reputable sources, and that we can feel confident that if we do use them, but we are getting the correct message across. But trying to do it internally on our own can be risky if we really don't understand that culture. So now the other two chapters, chapter 9 and 10, you start to get a little bit of sampling of some different regions of the world. Particular, we look, different areas of Europe, Africa, Middle East, kind of in the Americas. They talk a little bit about NAFTA and these cooperations among cultures to try to engage in more trade to benefit all individuals. And again, I think the underlying theme for any economist or any international marketing textbook is that trade benefits everyone. And are certain parties going to be hurt? Absolutely, but we have to deal with those things, and we have to make sure that when we're trying to market that product, that's kind of a little bit about your foreign direct investment analysis is, how might this be perceived by that other culture? So we have to be careful how we approach things. But if we're selling the idea to them that this is going to benefit their host country, we're more likely to be successful. And the more we get the local population involved in the marketing of this product or service, the more successful we're going to be. So, well, that was it for this week. Continue to look forward to the forum discussions. It's going to be open tomorrow, so jump in there as early as you can. Do send me an email if you have questions. The one thing I did want to point out, I'm going to a College Reading and Learning Association conference from Wednesday to Saturday. I'll still be checking online, but I just won't be at home if you want to try to call me. But I almost typically will follow up with you that day or the following day at the latest if you do have any questions. So you guys have a great week, and look forward to talking to you online. Take care.